I mean, I know you've pointed this out before that you think something might be up with Matt Judon, but you're getting the sense that he's freelancing a bit. Now, can that be a combination of being hurt and just trying to get away with something because you're not as comfortable to stay in scheme? Or are we seeing a player that got a big contract in the offseason? He's feeling himself a little bit because he's had a great year up until recent weeks. What's up with Judon?
This is a guy that after week 1, the next 12 games, I think it was, he put up 12 and a half sacks. It's in the last 4 games, and the Jaguars, he was out. Largely, he didn't play all that much, so that it's almost like 3+ games. But for him, 0 sacks in down the stretch here. And what's more concerning to me, and it really showed up in the Bills game. I don't really remember that much about the Colts game. I'll have to go back and consult my notes. But in the Bills game, they asked him a lot to do, work against Dawson Knox. Either hit him coming off the line, being coverage in the flat, what have you. And it started in that game where all of a sudden Matthew Judon's like, he's not even close to the play, and he's over with Dawson Knox, and he's like tackling him to the ground. Like, weird stuff is going on. Josh Allen was able to run, basically do whatever he wanted to in that game because guys like Matthew Judon were running by him and leaving him gaps. The rush was totally undisciplined. This game, that final third down, it happened in other times in this game too. It just, Matthew Judon to me looks like a player that's out to get his and only his. He's not concerned about the scheme. He's reverting back to whatever he did in Baltimore, and this scheme cannot afford that. It can't. It is predicated on all 11 guys doing their job the right way. And I'll point to the 2011 Patriots defense. That defense was terrible. Terrible personnel. Guys like Sterling Moore in the secondary. Julian Edelman had to play slot corner against Anquan Bolden in the AFC Championship game. But that team also won a Super Bowl with a crap bag defense. Why? Because everybody did what they were supposed to do. That's all you have to do. And Judon, he's running by the quarterback. He's not where he's supposed to be. He's not dropping into coverage when he should. He's not touching tight ends or receivers coming out. It looks like he's leaving guys out to dry on this team. And it's not good enough. They need him to be better. And Brendan, I've asked people around the team about this, and they, just saying like, I kind of want to rip Matthew Judon this week. Should I stay away from that? And they said, no, you'd be okay doing that. But the way I read it from people I've talked about, so, Matthew Judon got the big contract, came over. Bill Belichick has given him a lot of leeway, especially he did early on in the season, like, hey, basically leaving him alone to his own devices. And largely he played within the structure of the scheme. I didn't have a whole lot of problems, and he was great. And Bill kind of left him alone. And when he did make mistakes, he wouldn't, he kind of, left him to his own devices. But now it's gotten worse, and I don't know if Bill can get him to buy back in. He just doesn't. Judon looks like a guy who is not buying into the scheme, who seems frustrated in his role or lack of production, and is sort of doing his own thing. And it's leaving guys out to dry all over the place, especially against mobile quarterbacks. And look, I'm not going to tell you right now that it's over with. He's got no shot against the Bills. He's going to be bad. It could happen. If he's bad, they're going to get wiped off the field. But if Bill can get him to buy back in and do his job again, they have a chance. Bill's going to have to do some major work there because Judon has become a liability on this defense. And I could not have imagined myself saying that, say, 5 or 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, and you asked the question about the Colts game. So he played a 90% of the defensive snaps. He had 5 total tackles in the game. But to your point, no sacks over the final 4 games. I hope this is mendable. It's year 1 of a 4-year contract. They gave this guy a lot. And just big picture, too, he's supposed to be that next wave of veterans when the high towers.
He has to be.
He has to be.
Brendan,
no other option.
he has to be a playmaker for this team, especially if Barmore's out and look, there were reports that, oh, wasn't that serious, blah, blah, blah. But for a guy to get carted off the field and not be able to put pressure on his knee, I have a hard time seeing him, even playing on Saturday night. Even if he does play, how is he going to be the same Christian Barmore? Basically, this defense was living off of Matthew Judon on the edge and Christian Barmore generating pressure. Those two guys didn't have to scheme it up, didn't have to worry about coverage. That's all evaporated, especially if Barmore's down now. Judon, I was just looking at these are his PFF stats.
Okay.
I have my own stats, but just quickly looking at theirs. The Chargers game, he had 10 total pressures. So he had, from the Chargers game through the Bills, so before the bye, he had 18, 23, 26, 30. He had 30 pressures himself in those 6 games. 30. He averaged 5 pressures a game. In the last 4 games, he has 4 total pressures in the last 4 games. Something is wrong and broken with Matthew Judon, and if that doesn't get fixed, they have no shot on Saturday night.